The Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin by Kip Wilson. I really like this book more than I thought I would. It looks like a big boy. It's not. It is a novel in verse, so all of the pages are quite sparse. I don't want to give any hints, but there's a lot of white space. These are very short little poems, so it is very easy to just absolutely breeze through. It's pretty short, even though it's like almost 500 pages. So this is a novel in verse set in 1932 Germany about a girl named Hilda. She's just turned 18. She's an orphan. Her parents are dead. She has absolutely no one and nothing, and she gets released from this orphanage when she turns 18, and she stumbles into a queer nightclub, Cafe Lila, where she eventually gets a job as a waitress and a singer, and she connects with another one of the performers slash waitresses there named Rosa, and she moves in with Rosa, becomes flatmates with her and her aunt, and starts to build a life and have a family for the first time in years and years and years. Set in the horrific backdrop of 1932 Germany. So this book takes place a little bit before Hitler's rise to power, in the Weimar era of Germany, where the queer nightlife was actually quite robust. There's a lot of queer nightlife, queer clubs, people are sort of out. I mean, as much as historically as you can imagine they are. They sing these songs that are explicitly queer. They're in explicitly queer nightclubs. They're performing on stage, kissing each other. There's a lot of open queerness, which does receive backlash in this book as Hitler rises to power. As Hitler rises to power, there are brown shirts patrolling the neighborhood. There's a character whose father finds out that she's working in this nightclub and does not like that. There's definitely homophobia, racism. It's 1932 Germany, but it's not pure tragedy. It's a fairly happy ending. Spoilers. I mean, as happy as one could be in this era. It starts and ends in 1932, so it doesn't get into Hitler's full control. But you see the lead up and you see life sort of right before the Nazis take over. So definitely some strong themes. Towards the end, I wasn't like excited to read this. It's like, oh, kind of a tough read for the times at point, but I really liked it anyway. I mean, it's a good message, but also I really liked these characters. I really liked this book. These poems, again, they're very short. They're very sparse. Like, you really don't get a lot, but you get a lot from it. I think the conciseness of this novel is quite good. I'd say within 50 pages, which is nothing because you're blowing through it, within 50 pages you have an absolutely great idea of who this character is, who the setting is, who Rosa is as a side character. You really understand this girl's motivations. You get her story, her backstory with her parents being dead, her having absolutely no one. She's sort of shy. She is a singer. She loves singing. She's a very good singer, but she's sort of shy. Her mom was a professional singer, but her mom's fucking dead. When she starts working in this club, she's just a waitress, and she's too stage shy. She has stage fright, so she doesn't want to sing right away. She's a very sort of insecure person because she literally comes from a place of insecurity. She does not have a home, but she lucks into finding this home with this woman, this other young girl who she falls in love with. There is a Sapphic storyline, obviously. She felt pretty real. It feels like a sort of insecure 18-year-old just trying to make her way in this world, trying to survive, prioritizing, what she can, her survival. I thought it was well done. So the poems are very concise. They don't give you any more extraneous information than you need. They do just a great job telling you what you need to know. There's no extraneous information. I just said that. I just repeated myself. I add a lot of extraneous information in these videos. This book doesn't do that. This book is more concise than me, which is probably why I admire it, huh? But I really liked it. And the poems they're not poemy. You kind of just read this like a novel. Novel and verses are sort of like that. Again, I'm not a big poetry person. I like some poetry. I don't read a ton of it. I'm not like super familiar with, all aspects of all poetry. But this isn't like vague, metaphorical, large concepts, you know. This is literally just like plot for plot what's happening in the story. It's just a narrative, and it's very surface level, and I think that works well as a novel. Like, if you took one of these poems, I don't know, I guess I didn't read it as on a poem by poem basis. I read it as a complete novel altogether. I don't know if you could just take one of these poems and read it just as a poem and like have it make any sense whatsoever. Some of them might, some of them wouldn't, because there's, you know, characters you'd be like, who the fuck is Gretchen, you know? But I don't, novels and verses aren't supposed to be read that way, I don't believe. Maybe some could, but no, that's not the intended purpose. There is playing with form. I don't want to spoil anything here, but like you can see the structure, like the dialogue's always like on the side, and even like the clock on the wall counts 5 full seconds, and then you'll see thwack, 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 or whatever, and if that's the ticking of the clock, and it's in like a circular clock formation, so there is like some interesting play with the structure and like literally the spacing of the words and the stanza breaks and the line breaks and the formatting. I like that. It makes it really easy to follow. Again, the dialogue is all italicized and pushed to the side, so you can tell like what Hilda's thinking and what Rosa is saying, and you know, there's a good distinction. I really liked just the physical formatting of this book was quite nice. This is an ARC copy. I bought the secondhand. I know you're not really supposed to sell ARCs, but the book came out in 2022. The book's been out for 3 years, so I don't really see a problem with selling ARCs after the book is out. But I bought this secondhand, and this was the cheapest copy I could get. And I like that it's an ARC. It's sort of collectible for me. Maybe I wasn't supposed to have an ARC, but I like it. And I can't imagine that they changed much, because there's nothing like glaringly wrong with this or anything. I didn't even notice any typos or anything like that, so I don't know how much this changed between the ARC and the final version, but I imagine not that much. I imagine a lot of the story is the same. And I'm not gonna get into spoilers anyway, so I just wanted to brag that I have an ARC. The lesbian relationship in this is good. It's not quite the forefront. I wouldn't say this isn't like a romance. It's more about this girl's coming of age. It's not called in German. Bildungsroman. It's a Bildungsroman. Literally a German Bildungsroman. There is romance. The main character is, I would say, a lesbian. I don't know if she uses that word. I don't think. She never talks about men. I don't think she's into men. She talks about a fling that she had in the orphanage with another girl there named Gretchen, and how she feels the same way for Rosa, but like with Gretchen, it didn't end well. Gretchen went away, left the orphanage, and this is the only spoiler I'll get into. She does meet Gretchen again, and I don't think that storyline totally gets resolved. She has a second falling out with Gretchen, and then she doesn't talk to Gretchen again, so they don't like resolve that conflict. But there is a point at the end of the novel where she sees Gretchen again. She's like, you know what? I'm over that bitch. I don't even care. Which completes her growth arc. So I guess there's sort of some resolution there, but there's still like this storyline with Gretchen that doesn't quite get resolved, and you're like, oh no, I hope Gretchen's okay. But also, Gretchen's kind of a bitch, but also I hope Gretchen's okay. But like, you're not gonna get a resolution to everything, and again, this takes place only over the span of a couple months. And, you know, there's some storylines that aren't going to get resolved because of just the historical time period, and that makes sense in a way. Gretchen's story could have, I don't know. I don't really care about Gretchen. She's a very minor side character in the grand scheme of things, so it wasn't that crucial for her plot point to be, like, totally resolved. But, I did like some of the other side characters. Lena is rather complex. She's a girl who joins the nightclub at the same time as Hilda does, and they're sort of competitors, and they have definite reason to hate each other, but then like Lena has some sympathies, but then also doesn't have some sympathies, and she's a pretty complex character. There's a pianist named Uta who's pretty interesting. I liked some of these side characters. There's not a lot of them. It's really just focused on Hilda and her, you know, trying to earn a living and make money and, you know, survive as an orphan and gain her self-confidence in this job and to become a singer and to realize her sort of career path and, you know, admit to herself what she wants. there's the romance on the side as well, which is pretty cute. And, you know, that's nice. It's a nice little, fun little YA, heartwarming little story set in 1932 Germany. But yeah, I was really impressed by this. And again, it's very easy to read, and I found myself being like, just one more poem, but they're all like 1 to 2 pages, maybe 3 or 4. They're all very short. So I'm like, oh, one more poem. It's really nice to read. Again, it gets heavy at the end, but even in the beginning, it's not really focused on any political stuff. You'll get some little rumblings, you know. Obviously, it's unavoidable, but they're sort of just side moments in her day-to-day life. She's very much focused on just survival in the moment and this new job and trying to impress this woman she lives with, you know, who's graciously given her this home that she never thought she had. And, you know, just trying to find her way in the world. And then the politics play a bigger role later. So not as heavy as it could be, as you'd think maybe a book set in this time period could be, but definitely it does get into some darker topics toward the end especially. But I really liked it. Again, more than I thought I would. This was a 5-star for me. I thought I'd like it going in, but I thoroughly enjoyed it more than I expected. So I definitely recommend it if you want a book from this time period. Or a novel in verse, a YA novel in verse about a queer 18-year-old girl in Weimar Germany. Not Nazi Germany, it's technically before Nazi Germany, but like just barely. But that's an interesting moment in history as well. It's a good, important moment to study, perhaps. Unfortunately.